On this episode of the Revelation 13 podcast, we continue our look into the ancient question, who is the Antichrist?
Then I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name. Welcome to the Revelation 13 podcast. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that hath the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Revelation 13, verse 16 through 18.
Hello and welcome to the Revelation 13 podcast. I'm your host, Mike Hoffman. The verse you just heard, Revelation 13, verse 18, is one of the most quoted and possibly one of the most dreaded verses in the Bible. It challenges you to attempt to understand the events of the end. It gives you a clue as to the identity of the Antichrist and the number of his name. The Greek and Hebrew alphabets have number values attached to the letters, and so they give you the name. They gave you the number 666, and you add the letters of the name together, and it gives you the number, and you get a numeric value. And this seems to be the method of finding the connection to the name of the Antichrist. Now, many of the candidates for the Antichrist have a number value of 666 in their name. And a few of those names are, Bill Clinton, his name came to 666. Nero's name also equated to 666. Bill Gates, I believe. And interestingly enough, the word computer also equates to 666. Which is interesting because it takes, for the Antichrist to do what he can do, whether it's worldwide, which most people believe, or even just a section of the world, it's the computer that allows them to do that. At no other time could it be done without the help of computers and chips. And so it's interesting to see that the word computer also equates to 666. And also, I believe a title to the Pope, one of his titles, equates to 666. Now, in recent times, there has been a little bit of a debate, not so much in Christian circles, but in secular circles, that they've found a 3rd century document, a copy of Revelation, that had 616 as the number of the beast. And what's interesting, something like this comes out, and then they claim that this is the original number, and that the 666 is wrong. Just like any sort of document or anything that pops up, automatically somehow that new document somehow overrides the older document, or the document that people had from before. When a document can say anything, that doesn't make it true. But interestingly enough, at the time, 3rd century, there was a church leader named Irenaeus, 202 BC. And in his writings, he said that the 616 was a translation error. So a church leader at the time had already addressed it, which is very similar to when they had the book of Judas, and they were trying to claim that book was a lost gospel, that it was authentic, Um, it was written by Gnostics who had a different, a different view of Christianity, a non-Christian view of Christianity, more like a cultic view, and that also, the same instance, you had an early church leader at the time of the documents that they date them to, already explaining that that was a heresy. And you have the same case here where Irenaeus says it was a translation error. 666 is the correct number of the beast. And Irenaeus has some clout behind him because he was a disciple of Polycarp, and Polycarp was a disciple of John the Apostle. And so, he's sort of a direct line there. So he would know, he would know. In a previous episode, we went over some of the suspects who we thought might be the Antichrist. And we'll now go over individuals who, in my opinion, hold a stronger case for being the Antichrist. If the EU scenario comes to pass, the most likely candidate is Javier Solana, the EU's High Representative for Common and Foreign Security. He's a physicist who became a political minister and for 13 years, and then served as Secretary General for NATO from 1995 to 1999. And of course, he now holds the post of High Representative, Common and Foreign Affairs and Security Policy. He has many ties in trying to broker peace agreements in the Middle East, and he claims to speak for the West. He's a mover and shaker in the European community, so it's not surprising to see that the EU comes together. He could be in line to become president, or at least the power behind the scenes. A little bit of that has sort of been taken by Tony Blair, only because, and I think he actually did it, but either way, Tony Blair has sort of right now been assigned from the EU to try to broker peace in the Middle East. Good luck with that. But so now some people have been looking at Tony Blair. So I guess it would be a toss-up between him and Tony Blair. But most people would probably go with Javier right now. And although it's interesting with Tony Blair, I mean, he is there. But with Javier, according to some, if you look up his name in a Greek Bible code software, or Bible code software, his name shows up in some very interesting places. Now, the Bible code process is a way that you find name and events possibly encoded in the Bible. Apparently, rabbis knew about it in ancient times, and they would look for patterns and codes. Basically, what you do is you skip letters, like every third letter, every fourth letter, and you try to find a word, a phrase, or event somehow in the text. Because in the Hebrew, and even with the Greek, they were done in scrolls. So you'd roll out this big long piece, and and depending on how you're skipping and doing your pattern, you can basically, like a crossword, find words and letters by using your skip patterns. Of course, this is very hard to do without a computer, but with a computer you can speed it up and find patterns and names and events. And then what you do is you look at the verses that correspond to the name or events that you've looked for to see if there's any relevance in it. But this is not a tool for telling the future. So first of all, you really have to know what to look for. You basically have to know the question before the event happens, and so you fish with it. But also, it isn't a real tool for telling the future, because if the computer or you look long enough, the computer looks long enough, it will find a pattern to whatever you're looking for. If you're looking for the name Michael, or you're looking for the name whatever, it will eventually find it. What would make you think that the pattern has relevance is if it's a short, if it's found quickly, without dragging on for a long period of time. Because then the longer it drags out, then yeah, chance it's going to happen. You're going to find it eventually. But if there's a quick hit on the pattern, then that betters